right, welcome to another edition of North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and today we're going to be talking about an organization called Educatius, and we're going to learn all about Educatius and what it does, and specifically what it does in conjunction here with Beverly High School. And I have three special guests with me today, and I'll introduce them. First is Robert Taylor, and Robert is the local coordinator for Educatius.
That's right.
And Rebecca Holenwerger, did I say that correctly?
That's right.
And Rebecca is also with Educatius, and what is your title?
I'm the regional manager of the Northeast.
Manager, okay. And I have Sylvia Bigliomini.
Exactly.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Right. And Sylvia is an exchange student from Italy, from Firenze.
Exactly.
Exactly. Pretty good, huh? And we're gonna be talking about Educatius with these folks. And I'm gonna direct the first question, perhaps, at you, Rebecca.
Sure.
From a global kind of standpoint for our viewers, tell us, what is Educatius? What is your mission? What do you do?
Sure. Well, in a nutshell, Educatius is an agency that helps bring international students to the United States to complete a school year in public or private schools. So we partner with schools in the area, all over the United States actually, and help these international students come over to study at public and private high schools and also live with American host families. So our mission is to promote peace through different cultures and also education.
Right, and in a word, these are exchange students, right? Just in the same sense that people know them as exchange students, in the general sense?
Sort of. So the difference is that exchange students, when they come here, you know, a high school student from this area would then go to another country.
Okay.
So we call them international students. Also, the difference between exchange and international students is that these students coming actually pay tuition to the high schools, and the host families who are hosting them do receive compensation as well. So those are some differences between exchange and international students.
Okay. And as this regional or district manager, well, how big an area do you cover yourself, Rebecca?
I cover mostly New England schools, although I have a few in New York and New Jersey as well. But we have so many students in Massachusetts alone that there's another regional manager just covering Boston area schools.
Yeah.
And each one of us regional managers has between 90 and 110 or 120 students under our care.
Wow. And where do you live?
I live in Winthrop, but I'm actually born and raised here in Beverly. I'm a graduate of Beverly High School, so.
And I know you have an interesting story. I think our viewers would like to hear that. So you were an exchange student yourself. Tell us about that.
I was. I mean, typically students in the United States kind of go abroad in college. So in college, I went to Florence, Italy to study, where Sylvia's from. I didn't know that until today, that she was from Florence. So I went to Florence. I absolutely loved my experience. As soon as I graduated college, I went back, you know, with a hope and a prayer, and ended up living there for a year and a half, working as a nanny and an English teacher. Met my husband there, who's actually from Brazil.
From Brazil.
and so that's sort of how this international culture and working with people from other countries, that's how I ended up in this role. And I just feel like my own experience as a student going abroad opened these doors for me.
Certainly prepares you for this kind of task. Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. Now, getting a little bit closer to home here, Beverly High School, and Robert Taylor, you are the local coordinator. And tell us, Robert, about your role with Educatius and how you coordinate with it. Is it just Beverly High School that you work with, or other schools?
I have a few students in Marblehead, just because of a sort of a rule that, well, to start, I've been a host parent for 5 years. I've had 10 students, because I have multiple students in my house at one time. And when I became a local coordinator, there's sort of a rule that you cannot be your own coordinator. So I share some students from Marblehead, and the usual coordinator from Marblehead looks after my students, so to speak.
Yeah. So in this role, tell us what are your duties and responsibilities in this role?
Well, first of all, to explain the expectations that we have for both the students and the host families when they arrive. Explain the rules at Educatius, and I suppose in some sense the government posts for their behaviors, but also for mainly to sort of iron out some of the initial difficulties and potential misunderstandings that can happen when, you essentially go from having a guest to what is essentially almost like a foster child in your home for a long time, Make sure the expectations are correct, take my experience and help people try to understand someone else's perspective, how they see it, how you see it, and then get you both communicating, more openly and, work out those things.
And how does Educatius promote itself in these other countries? How do parents of children in Belgium or France or wherever, Italy, how do they get to know about Educatius?
Sure. Well, Educatius partners with hundreds of international travel agencies, educational travel agencies. So someone like Sylvia, when you were thinking about coming abroad, you probably approached one of these agencies to help you. So there's an agency on the foreign end who is doing all the paperwork and helping her with the application. We have a partnership through Educatius with these agencies who send us students. So then we're on the receiving end, and we're helping them with all the paperwork on this end. And year after year, we get students. If someone like Sylvia has a great experience at Beverly High School, she might go back, promote it to her agency, and in years to come, we'll get other students from that very same agency. So we already have these partnerships established, and students just have to go to their agencies in their home country.
Now, Sylvia Bigliomini, I love saying your last name. So tell us, what grade are you in here at Beverly High School?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior.
Yeah.
Now, how did the idea of coming over to the United States and spending a year studying here, how did that come about in your family? Did you discuss it when you were a young person, or did it just all of a sudden come up? How did that happen?
So, like, it all began when I was talking to my mom, because my mom loves traveling, and like she would have loved to have like this opportunity to go and study abroad for a year, but like she never could do that. So like she always kind of pushed me to, expand my horizons and travel around and, face my experiences, make my own mistakes too. And that's why I finally made my decision to come here.
Yeah. So you were very fine with the idea? You didn't have any shakes or trepidations about leaving home?
No, I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I really loved the idea of making new friends around the world, meeting new people, escape a little bit from, the well-worn path.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Very well put. And now, how did your family link up with, because there's a lot of different mechanisms and different organizations that sponsor exchange programs or international students. How did your family link up with Educatius?
So my mama has a lot of friends, and like these other friends of hers have children. Now they've grown up, and like these other kids went on exchange programs, and so like she talked to several of her friends, and they suggested her to try my like Italian agency that was linked to Educatius, and that's how we found out about it.
And then how long did the process take on your side before it was a done deal and you were ready to go?
Like around a few months,
but
it was quick. It was easy.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's good to know.
Yeah. Now, what I'll ask Robert and you, Rebecca. What expectation does Educatius have for the school and for the community as a result of these kinds of programs?
Sure. Well, it takes a while to finalize a contract between schools. So these students don't come through us and just go anywhere. We have an established relationship with Beverly High School and other schools in the area. These high schools have to go through a long process with the government to become approved to take in international students. And once we build up that relationship, we just expect the schools to be responsive to us and the things we ask about the students, to help the students when they're here, to help them succeed, which is what we want in the end. And the community, we're just hoping that the community supports this program and this program, because these students are paying tuition to go to the school, it's really beneficial to not only the school district, but the community itself. I think it adds such an amazing cultural diversity to the community of Beverly, but what we need from the community is host families to be opened and willing to open their home to an international student or two.
Yeah.
Beverly has said in the past that they're willing to take up to 15 to 20 international students. We've had, most years in the past, we've had maybe between 10 and 12, and that really correlates to how many families we have willing and able to do this every year. So.
And we're going to get back to that host family thing in a second. But let me, Robert, let me ask you. So, in the time, in the last, I don't know, time frame that you're familiar with, how many students has Educatius brought over here to Beverly High School? Rough numbers.
I think about 30, 35 since I've been here.
Yeah.
I was a host family the first year they came. I had a Vietnamese student.
And what year was that, Bob? Robert?
Oh, what year? Let me see. This is what?
Roughly
5 years ago.
It's about 5 years
5
ago.
years ago. Okay.
Yeah, that was Vietnam. That was Dan. She spoke English very well. She'd gone to an American school. And the next year I had Katja, a Serbian. I had Zoe, a Chinese, and I had Anna, a Norwegian student. They all spoke English fairly well.
Yeah.
Then let me see. Last year I had Guilherme from Brazil. He spoke English well. I had Tom from China. And I had Henny from Norway.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. They all come here with sort of slightly different motivations and expectations.
Yeah.
And different language skills.
And are the students required to have at least a working knowledge of English, or do they come here to learn English, or does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of our application and part of the application that we submit to Beverly High School to show English proficiency tests and how many years they've studied. They are able at some schools to take part in ESL support classes. So it really, like Bob's saying, it's really all over the map. We have that expectation that they're coming here not just for English, but that they're going to be put into regular classes and be able to perform.
Yeah. Well, I'm listening to Sylvia speak, and when we spoke a little bit beforehand, I must commend you, because you just don't know just the language and the grammar, but you're using idioms that you know what they mean. And
you can thank me. You can thank me.
And I think that's that when you can use the idioms properly.
That's because of him, too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Very
he
good.
taught me those.
Now, what happens on this side, like when a student comes over? So the student, do you meet the student at the airport, and and the family is ready to go? How does that work?
Well, what usually happens is once you agree to be a host family, the Educatius will present you with some profiles. You have a chance to select, looking at their bio, their likes and dislikes, whether they like pets, whether they like children, and you have children, you don't have children, these sort of little things that you can sort of foresee as maybe being a point of conflict.
Right.
Then you choose, then usually you'll get an itinerary for when they arrive, and you go down and greet them. It's Terminal E usually.
Yep.
That's an interesting experience.
Unless they're coming in from Cleveland or something.
Well, you do get students. You do get until recently, until last year, Chinese students would usually come in to New York, and they would go through customs there.
Yeah.
So you could pick them up at a domestic terminal here. But if they're flying in from Europe or Brazil and they're landing directly into international, they go to customs, and then you can be prepared to stand there for an hour, hour and a half while they come out. Because the plane lands at 9 o'clock, and they may not get through customs until 12.
Now let's go ahead.
I just want to add, about Bob's role, because I think he's not saying what he really does. He does a lot more than what he's admitting. The local coordinator it's really twofold. This time of year, when the student applications are coming in, his main role is recruiting and then helping host families through the process of becoming approved. And then his role changes to one of support when the students are here. So, he did talk about mediating if there's issues. But really, he's the main point of contact to the host families in this program and the students. If there's a question from I need to go to the doctor, to where do I get my haircut, to where's the best pizza, to,
the important stuff.
All these things, they go to Bob first. So he's fielding calls, he's encouraging, he's adding support, he's helping kids who are slipping with their grades, who are homesick. So he does a lot, and we couldn't do it without him. So you don't
that's true.
Well,
speak highly enough of yourself.
let's get to an important topic here, and I think one of the reasons that you wanted to come on the show is that you are looking for host families. You're always looking for host families to continue this wonderful program. So what are the qualifications, the responsibilities of a host family?
Well, essentially, we're looking for a family who's willing to take in a student as a part of their family, as a member of the family, and treat them like their own child or brother or sister. So we do have some main requirements. We like the students to have a bedroom, though they can share with another international student, with a bed, a dresser or a closet, a study desk. Our program does require 3 meals a day, although if the student prefers to purchase the cafeteria lunch, they do that on their own. And then just, basic family interaction and support. So it is opening your home to another member of the family for the year. But in return, you have these lifelong relationships with people from other countries. You are provided with the support from people here in town and by Educatius in Boston. And at the same time, we do pay a compensation to a stipend monthly per student, just to help offset the costs of food and utilities. And
so the host family does get. What is the range of the payment? How big is that stipend?
For Beverly High School, it's between $800 and $900 per month per student, depending on the student's needs. And we can explain that to families who are interested. And that we expect that really goes towards the meals, the rides to and from activities, utilities. So it's really just to encourage families not to be afraid of the cost. We're kind of trying to offset the cost a little bit.
And I think we have a slide. I'm going to ask my control room to put up a slide. Now this is host family requirements. It might be a little bit difficult to see. And maybe, Rebecca, if you look up at that, if you can hone in on any one of those. So you have to complete an online application.
Yep, and those have background checks as well, which are done right online, so it's very secure. Bob would then, once a family starts an application, Bob would go and do an in-home visit and interview with the family just to make answer any questions.
Okay.
Like we said, the bedroom should have a bed, a desk, and a dresser or a closet. So host families can host 2 international students from different countries and different languages as well, I should point out. They can host 2 in the same home that could share a room. Or if you have a similarly aged child in your home, a son or a daughter, you could pair them in the room as well. But we don't want like a 17-year-old with a 5-year-old child.
Of course.
The rule is between no more than 3 years older or younger. And then
let's take a look at the rest of that list if we can. Okay, so go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, like we said, 3 meals a day, and this is not cooking them hot breakfasts and lunches, but just showing the student, like you would a member of the family, where things are to help themselves.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Everyone's favorite. And we just expect, like we said, to engage and interact with the student as if it's a member of the family and provide that family support. And in exchange, you are supported by Educatius and the local coordinator should any problems arise, as well as receiving that monthly stipend.
Yeah. Now let me, Sylvia, let me ask you. Now you, when you came over to the United States, you mentioned to me earlier that you had been in the United States before. But was your expectation? How did your expectations? How did that square away with what actually happened here, as far as the school and your classmates and your friends that you made and your experience here in Beverly?
So a lot of things here happened that I would have never expected, like never in my life. Like, when you live in a different country in Europe, and at least as far as I'm concerned, I usually watch a lot of American movies, and you think that you know, the school is so fun, you go out, you know. That's the idea that we have about America. But like, then when I came here, I was like, oh my God, it's so different. It was like a shock. It was a cultural shock in the beginning, but now I've gotten used to it. Now, you know, in the beginning, it's always hard. You need to get into it, but now I'm doing fine. It's awesome.
And you're the family you're with. Do they have siblings, children your age?
No. They are in their 20s. So. Yeah. And
what kind of activities do you like in school? Sports, or is it more intellectual activities? Band,
so schooling here is so much different than school in Europe. Because like, no offense for Europe, but school is hell. Oh. And here is more fun. Like I can choose.
So it is like in the movies.
So here I can choose the subjects that I like the most. So, and I like this because, like, at least in Italy, I have to take some classes that I won't ever use in my life. I don't want to use them in my life, but in here, I can actually, you know, get an idea of what I want to become and, like, focus on that. So it's better. And then, like, I never tried a sport in here. Yeah. But I have two of us brothers, and they practice soccer this winter and this fall. And they're interested in tennis and basketball and sports in general, and they say that they're very good, so I'm assuming so. I trust them.
And so you have tried sports as well, or
no? I just go to the gym every day.
You go to the gym every day. Now, what sort of things are you looking for when you're going to go back to Italy in June after the school year is over, and you'll be finished with school?
No.
Or you have to go back for another senior year?
Yeah, so in Italy we get a 13th grade, so I need to graduate in Italy as well. And then I gotta decide whether I want to go to college here or, you know, attend another university in Italy, and that's what I want to figure out at the moment, because I'm
you
still
haven't made that decision yet? But what sort of things are you interested in like psychology, or the more the or the
no,
math,
not
or
psychologist, and I'm not good at math. Yeah. So my parents are both doctors. And sometimes I do get the feeling that they're somehow pushing me to study medicine as well.
Funny how that happens.
So it's not that I don't like medicine, it's just that after 17 years that you've been living with doctors, you kind of get annoyed, you know, get bored of it as well.
We're going to send them a copy of this program. You know?
I will tell them. But I would say I'm more interested in politics or economics. I'm not like a math person or a science person, so I'm here also to figure out what I want to do in my life. So.
Well, I know that Italy is known for its crazy politics, but I don't think you've seen anything crazier than what's been happening in the United States recently. And we won't touch that subject.
It was interesting. It was entertaining, you know, during the elections. And actually, the day of the elections, I went on my Facebook. I went on all the possible social networks, and all the people in Italy were worrying about American politics more than they actually do about Italian ones. And I was like, all right.
I won't say anything politically charged either, but I just think, you know, what a great company that we work for now, just to, you know, we're promoting international and cultural relationships and understanding and this exchange of peace, which is just great. It makes me feel even proud to do this.
Well, let's get back to earth here on Rick. Now, as far as the host families and the number of students that you have that want to come over here, is there like more host families than students, or more students and you have to turn students away because you don't have enough host families? Tell us how that works.
No, I mean, unfortunately, right now we have the opposite problem. You know, kids in their countries, they're so excited about this year that they're applying months and months in advance. So we already have students waiting for their host families who have applied and been accepted to Beverly High School for next school year.
Okay.
So we have a few girls and a boy from Norway,
Okay.
and then a boy from China who is currently studying in the United States at a private school and will be transferring over to Beverly. But I expect to have at least 12 to 15 applicants by the end of the summer. And we need more host families at this point. So right now we have more students than host families. We're not really in the position to turn a student away because of not having a
well, you
host
certainly
family.
don't want to, yeah.
No.
Now, so tell our audience when and how can families, how do they go about applying to be host families? If I'm watching this program and I said, I'd like to learn a little bit more about it, what could I do?
Sure. Well, I mean, what do you?
They call me at 978-239-5901, and I'll start the process going for them, or they can.
I think
I think there'll be
that will show that.
There we are.
And that's your number, right, Robert?
That's my cell number.
Bob is a great resource to contact initially because he lives here in Beverly. He knows the program, he knows the school, so he can sort of answer any preliminary questions and then get them started on an online application.
Right, yeah.
www.educatius.org. It's educatius.org. There's a tab there on how to become a host family, or and there's an 800 number as well. But it obviously makes more sense to just connect with someone locally.
That's right,
Connecting with anyone at Beverly High School and inquiring about it will eventually get to us as well. So.
And then I think we have there you
go. Become a USA host family. That will give you more information and more, a link to actually starting up an application.
And I think we have your email address.
Sure.
So Rebecca. There we go.
Rebecca.hollenberger@educatius.org. It's a mouthful, but that'll reach me. And so I'm more than happy to give information and get people started as well. I should also mention we have a referral bonus. So if a family is watching this, but they have a one-bedroom and they can't take in a student, but they have relatives or neighbors in the area that they'd like to recommend, if they refer that family to us and then that family becomes a successful host family and gets linked with a student, we will thank them by sending $100. So we do that all the time. That's just a great way to promote.
All right. Well, I think we have some images here. We're going to go through these rather quickly.
Sure.
I think if you want to make any comment, either Robert or Rebecca, if you want to make some comments, these are students and host families, and you see a lot of smiles and anything. Is there anybody here from Beverly or?
Actually, no. I mean, I just shared some photos from other students in our region.
Faces.
These are kids from Hopkinton.
Okay.
At their orientation. So just after arrival, you can see it's nice weather.
Okay. Next.
This is just a student with her host parents. She's won an award, I believe. This is another Hopkinton family and their two international students. I believe one was Norwegian and one was Italian.
Wow.
I think these are kids currently at Linfield and Melrose High Schools enjoying a pep rally.
Yeah.
A girl, one of our students last year at Melrose, enjoying the prom. So, I mean, a lot of these activities that these kids are doing are first-time experiences. Are you going to go to prom?
Yeah.
These are some students from Maynard High School who a couple years ago submitted a video they made on against drunk driving, I think, to the League of Women Voters. They won top prize, and this was at the State House in Boston where they won an award. So, I mean, our students are incredible. They're very talented. These kids are all from Norway, and I should mention Norwegian students have a prerequisite. They have to take media classes. And Beverly High School has obviously a great media program. That's why Norwegian students are very attracted to Beverly High School. So we have a few students waiting for homes now, and they're really, I mean, their English is fantastic.
Yes,
they're really gifted, very mature students. So
Norwegians start their English learning a little differently. They start when they're in the second or third grade.
Yeah.
They're taught conversational English without any particular emphasis on grammar. They get that later on.
Yeah.
And because they're close to Britain, they get a lot of English television, English movies.
Sure.
It's a second language for them. It's not really sort of a foreign language. They can speak English usually very well.
Yeah.
No
fantastic.
accent.
Yeah.
They have accents. Yeah. And how many times have I told you, accept the accent? It's a
beautiful.
grace note to your
Yeah.
English.
That's right. That's right. And Sylvia, when you go back to Firenze, are you going to tell other people about your wonderful experience?
Yeah, I will,
recommend,
definitely.
Recommend this.
Yeah.
And so, what's the most interesting or thing that you've learned about the United States or its people, or something that you had a completely different notion about? Anything stick out?
Well, I guess everything in general, everything. Nothing was as I was expecting it to be. So it's just like 1,000 times better.
Oh.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's so
What-
So, and I have a younger brother. Like, I wish that he tried to do this. I don't know if it will, but I'm gonna try to encourage him.
Well, wonderful. You're a great spokeslady for your country. Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much. We have been talking today to some folks about Educatius, and my guests have been Robert Taylor and Rebecca Hohenweger.
Close
Sorry
enough.
and Sylvia Bigliomini.
Belliomini.
Bigliomini.
But you actually say it better than most of the Italians.
Well, thank you very much.
Congrats.
Thank you. Well, with that, I'll close, and I'll tell our viewers you've been watching North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and we'll see you next time.